Michelle.
Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Finance Committee meeting for Thursday, July 14th, 2022. We'll start with the approval of the minutes from the June 9th meeting.
Move to approve well, I guess there's one little caveat here, and that is I entered the meeting at 6:22 p.m., which makes it hard for me to vouch for the accuracy of the minutes for the first 22 minutes worth. Just putting it out there.
You want to wait till next meeting when Alan's
Yeah, maybe we should.
Okay.
I know I'm being a stickler, but.
No, that's fine. Okay, so we'll table it. Do we need to
That's
vote to table it, or? Okay, so do you want to make a motion to table?
Yeah, I'll move to table approval of the minutes from the meeting of June 9th.
And I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Item 2, update of the bond anticipation notes with Mona.
You had in your packet the calendar of the activity of the band sale, and I just handed out on the table. We had the band sale on Tuesday, and you can see that we had 6 bidders, which was actually kind of interesting for a sale that is, as small as the 4.2 million that we were doing. And that was the 2.2 million rollover, and then 2 million for the road referendum. So from the results that you can see here, we obviously chose that with the lowest NIC rate, which was a 2.4461, which is actually quite good. We were expecting it to be in that range. Obviously they're going around the 2.5 at this time of year, time of market. So we agreed to go with Jeffries for the 2.4461.
Okay. Great. Any questions?
So Mona, this, again, there's a $2 million balance or $2.25 million balance from a previous obligation?
Correct. That's with the high school project, because that hasn't been audited, hasn't been closed, so we still have that rolling over as an open balance until the State Department of Ed comes in, closes the project, and then we'll either bond it or close that. So this rolls over as the 2.2, and we added $2 million on for the road referendum.
Okay, and so we're not permitted to bond them until further steps have been taken?
Correct.
Okay. Just the concern is, obviously we see where rates are going, and once we get to the point of actually bringing these to issuing actual bonds, it looks like we're going to be, paying a lot more than we've gotten used to.
And there's, of course, if they come through and they do the audit and find that, for example, we didn't need the entire amount, we don't want to go out and do a 30-year bond with the $2 million. If it's not needed, it's best to do it at the 1 year, find out if that's the amount you need. They come in, they do the final review, and it's, $1 million that you needed, then it's best to keep it on the yearly rollover rather than make a 30-year commitment. So
Okay.
more of the strategy on it is keeping it short-term until the number's final.
Okay, thanks.
If, for example, if by chance we got the real number, say in 6 months, could we pay these off early, or is there a make whole, or do you know, or do you have to keep these out for a year?
It's the 1 year, yeah.
Okay, so you can't extinguish them early, okay. All right, okay, thank you. Next item, discussion possible action, award of bid 374 New Britain Avenue.
We have here the original bid that we did for the demolition and abatement at 374 New Britain Avenue. We had a number of bidders originally, and our award E has contacted us and notifies us that they will not be able to continue to move forward with the project. We've gone to the next lowest bidder, who in this case will be New England Yankee. So we're proposing that we award this contract to New England Yankee for $60,100. That's the second lowest bidder in this case. We've had our we call her our contractor engineers look at these. They've gone through, they've checked their references, they're satisfied with the references, so they've been vetted as well. This particular company, if we go forward, is prepared to meet at the site on the after the council meeting, so on that Tuesday the 19th, So they're prepared, they're interested. So it's our recommendation that we award to the second bidder, New England Yankee, $60,100.
Okay. Jeff, you want this to go to the consent agenda, you think? And you can explain on the committee report Monday, perhaps?
Yeah.
What happened here, and then we can put it on consent?
Yeah, I think consents, I think is
That's what
appropriate
we
for
had
this,
hoped,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
I think
so
that's fine, so.
shall I make a motion?
Yep.
Okay, so I move that we place the proposed town council resolution dated July 18th, 2022, award of bid for the demolition and abatement located at 374 New Britain Avenue, onto the consent agenda for the town council meeting scheduled for July 18th, 2022.
And I'll second that. Any discussion or questions? Okay, well, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Next up, discussion possible action, Board of Education return of funds.
Board of Education has contacted us with their year-end balance. They're expecting to close the year with $942,258 of unexpended, unencumbered funds. It is their request that we use $800,000 of those funds to be applied toward the Griswold Middle School project. They would also like to request that $142,258, which would be the remaining portion of that, to be put to the capital non-reoccurring fund for any other capital projects that may be determined throughout the fiscal year for Board of Ed school projects. And it's our recommendation to approve their request.
And this can also be part of the consent agenda
It
as well?
is,
Okay.
yes.
And this is in line with what we were expecting pretty much as far as amounts and things? And
Yes,
yeah,
it is.
that's what I thought,
Yes,
okay. So-
exactly as planned.
Avoiding a bond, which is a good thing.
Yes. All right, so with that, I'll take a motion.
Sure. I move to place onto the consent agenda for the town council meeting of July 18, 2022, the proposed resolution in our packet called Town Council Resolution, July 18, 2022, Board of Education return of funds to the general fund and reserve for capital and non-recurring expenditures fund, Board of Education, Griswold Middle School roof project, and various school capital improvements.
And I'll second. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Item 5 is next, update on special revenue fund.
Okay. This is a table that we saw for the first time on the last Finance Committee meeting, and we've tried to bring this to future finance meetings. The plan will be to show you the activity in these special revenue funds, and I will highlight any major activity that may have occurred from one month to the previous. So what I've highlighted here, and this is through the June 30th, 2022, and I've earmarked 4 instances that had major activity. Otherwise, we had basically stayed status quo on those funds. And the first one being the recreation program. For the recreation program, they had received probably a minimal amount of revenues during that particular month of June. However, the expenditures were about $180,000 increase. As discussed previously, because of their summer programs, camp programs, summerscape, and so forth, that's the trend that this program, this special revenue, is expected to do. So this is kind of what's been expected in the past patterns. Also pointing out the youth services, the $200,000 for the fees and services. They had a slight revenue increase. Their expenditures had I'd say a slightly larger increase of $40,000 for the month. That was more reflecting of the project graduation. You'll probably see in the next monthly report, there will be additional expenditures. The project graduation really takes the majority of those expenses for the youth service program. The other account that had a fluctuation in activity was the police private duty. And this particular month, we had settled the FOP police union contract. So we had an increase in salaries, so not only in the general fund, but also any salaries that were charged into the police private duty had to be retro pays attributed to that account as well. Also, at the end of the year for this particular special revenue fund, because there are so many salaries that go in there, there's been historically an agreement that there would be a $120,000 transfer charging the special revenue fund and crediting the general fund. So that expense occurred at the end of the year, so it's a large expense for the month. And also on the Silas Dean project, pointing out, last time we looked at that, it had a large negative balance. We have received about $700,000 in reimbursement from the state, and we are still expecting to get the full reimbursement within the next 60 days.
Okay. Any questions?
No questions, thank you.
No, thanks. We appreciate you doing this, keep a hand on it, so that's great you're doing that, thank you. With that, item 6, update reserve for capital and non-recurring expenditure fund through June 30th, 2022.
We have a lot of numbers on one page, but I will say that for activity, it was minimal for the month of June for the non-recurring fund. And actually, I think the only expenditure that we had that was an increase was for the senior center. We had to pay an invoice for some of the plumbing job that they had done, although it's happened several months ago, finalized the invoices. So not a lot of change on this particular page. Still remaining to close out the year with the $1.8 million fund balance to move forward. You'll see that the approval, once we go to consent agenda next week, that $800,000 will be added to this page and go on the line for the Grizzle Middle School roof. So you'll see that change for next month.
So in the bottom section there where schools are listed down there?
Correct.
Okay. Or no, actually, there's
It's
schools
actually,
improvements up there, I'm sorry.
it's probably like the third double line, or the first set of double lines.
Yeah, gotcha.
Mona, the plumbing work that you just made reference to, was that repair of those damaged sewer laterals?
That's what it is.
So that's finally been taken care of? Those bathrooms are up and running now?
Oh, yes, up and running.
Okay, great.
Okay. Any? Okay.
Nothing else.
Great. Moving on, item 7, state aid to municipalities for the 2021-22 budget.
Okay. For the state aid, we've received all of our state aid. We received our final amount for the Pequot money. And we are, the only amount which is actually not a state grant, but we are expecting a reimbursement on LoCIP. So just a point of interest, that we do it as a reimbursement. It's not a standard grant. It's as you spend, we'll get a reimbursement. So just make that comment as we're talking about state grants in general, that as for the page and looking at those awarded amounts, everything has been received and awarded. So we've got our municipal grants project, the 221, 199, and we've also got our final amount for the Pequot money.
Question, the amount the state's making us whole on for the motor vehicle property taxes, is that something that will go on this schedule once that gets moving?
Yes, I'll
Okay.
put that on as an
And-
additional line.
Right, and like, what's the timing of where we may start seeing any of that? Is it still a while, or?
Well, they say it's a transition grant, so at this point, I have no idea what their timing is to do it, and it looks like it's going to come as a grant, as a lump sum.
Okay. So,
But as far as the timing when they're sending, I haven't got any indication
Yeah.
what their plans are with it yet.
okay. Great. Any questions?
Nothing here, thank you.
Let's see, item 8, monthly financial report as of June 30th, 2022.
Okay. Well, we have our added page of the executive summary, so if I don't mind, I'll just address that and see if we want to go into further detail.
Okay.
So for the revenues, the page that has followed is regarding the tax collector. So you can see that for the year end, we were at 99.77% collection, of course, versus 100%, which would have been perfect. But 99.77 is a very good collection rate, so it's on target. Overall status for revenues, our projection, and again, it's month end, so it's a very good projection, should be about $300,000 under budgeted. That's, you know, assuming all transfers in from funding sources, ARPA and so forth. So with the tax revenues being in place, I had mentioned that LoCIP reimbursement will come in from the state. Obviously, we've been following. Interest has been under budget all along. I think budgeted high, and the fact that the activity for interest has not been good all year. We did very well in the fee collections with building and the town clerk's office, although conveyance was a bit slow throughout the year. So overall, I think revenues look like they will probably come about $300,000 under budget. Then looking on the flip side for the expenditures, we're probably very close to coming into 100%. Should not be an issue about closing the year in a deficit. We should have, if anything, a very small surplus in closing out. We had all payrolls, the retroactive pays for the FOP police contract. We have that settled and everything paid back and calculated. Of course, we had the fuel was over or close to $150,000 over budget, which was a challenge throughout the entire year. The detailed reports, we're missing a few months of trash and disposal, so we've got about $100,000 there. Otherwise, we had some savings in debt. Right now, this report will show the $942,000 balance of Board of Ed still unexpended. Of course, when we go through the consent agenda to do that transfer, we'll zero that out. We have a small amount of contingency, just over $100,000. That will be spread over the different line items to cover some of these shortfalls. You'll find toward the back of the detail on capital projects, there are some line items that are unexpended. So next month, it's our plan to come to you and request some of these be transferred to the non-reoccurring. At this point, we're looking at probably the reval, repair to roads, which we had a plan to take that $100,000 and build a level of funding for roads, $100,000 per year. And also, if there's any balancing of funds for the school projects, we've had conversations with Board of Ed that we've done their requests with their year-end balance. They do have over $400,000 that was identified this year for their project for the HVAC. No, it wasn't. It was the science labs. My apologies. For the science labs, which they were able to fund themselves. So we'll decide what we want to do with that, if we roll it to fund balance or transfer to non-reoccurring. That will be a conversation for next month.
Bill, do you have any?
Yeah, one question. Mona, I'm struck by the shortfall in revenue from conveyance tax, 79%, which is quite a gap. And you know, we had at least this perception of this, you know, red hot real estate market. And yet this suggests the opposite was true in Rocky Hill. Yeah, you have any thoughts on that?
My inkling on that is not so much that their collections was that bad. I think the budget line was probably budgeted too aggressive. You know, I think that I really think our budget amount, you know, was probably higher than it's.
So the money,
I think their collection was probably reflecting the reality of what things should be. I think if anything, that budget amount might have been able to be reduced.
Was it at least as much as last year? I don't remember if the budget.
I believe they still are. Yeah,
about the same.
I can get that number for you, but I don't see anything that looked like it's unusual. Do you have, oh, no.
I was just looking to see.
Year over year?
Yeah,
Because it's not like there's an issue where you're not gonna collect that. I mean, that.
right, it
No,
just
that's-
comes in.
Yeah, it comes in, it's automatic, but I
Yeah.
mean, it seems to suggest, though, lesser activity on selling properties, which is, kind of the opposite of what everyone was just hearing, kind of word on the street. But then you look at this number, and not the case.
So like this says the
see.
2021 actual is over 405,000,
Yeah.
and then the fiscal year we just ended was like 236,000.
Where's that, what's that account number, Jeff?
4501,
45.
about halfway down.
Okay.
Yeah.
So last year, actual was 405.
And we budgeted 300, so we did come down from what?
Yeah.
Was there
Right,
something
and that's what I'm
unusual
saying.
in 2020, 21 that spiked
went
that
from-
number?
I think we had a large sale, and if I had to recall what it was, it's going to escape me, I'd have to look at that. But I can get more detail.
So from
I'd say-
405 to 235 in terms of actual.
Right, I think that was more of a peak than a norm. We can get that. You'll also have any collections, because there may be some adjustments as far as the receivables, but I would not imagine anything unusually large.
But does this 235 include that huge number that just came in from the sale of the refrigerated warehouse?
Which the Burris?
The Burris property, yeah.
No, unfortunately, because we chose to put that to the non-reoccurring fund, if you recall.
So, but that was conveyance tax money, though, was it not?
What our agreement was to put that to the other fund, rather than to reflect it on the general fund side,
Okay.
yeah.
So that was an out of the ordinary one, obviously. So if we
Right.
but if we take that out of the equation, though, I'm just struck by such a huge
Yeah.
year-over-year decrease. Jeff, you have any thoughts on that? It seems very strange.
Yeah, I guess I'd be curious to see what, like, 2019, like a couple of years before that, what it was, really to kind of see a few year
Get that for
trend
you.
and see like if that was just a real anomaly, 2020, 21,
Yeah.
or really trying to.
Yeah, we don't have a baseline here, I think, because you're right.
Right.
One oddball huge transaction can really skew the numbers. I guess I'd like to get a sense of what's normal and kind of flat for this.
I'll do a little looking into that for you.
Because not only you thought there were a lot of sales, but the prices were up,
Well,
which
that's the
means
thing,
is-
right.
on the sales.
So per transaction, the
yeah.
dollar should have been
I
higher
think
too.
so, right?
But I mean, what we didn't get was a lot of new construction. I mean, that's one wild card, I guess.
Yeah, and they seem to stay quite well in their collection rate, which is interesting. I can look at it further,
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
yeah.
Thank you.
I just had a question, and this may be something maybe we address another time versus putting you on the spot here, but I know we've talked about this before, about the interest we're earning on our cash. What kind of investments are we making? Do we have a consultant that does that? How does that all kind of work? I know that's like a lot, that's a lot to throw at you without giving you forewarning, so if we want to make that an item to talk about another time, that's fine, but.
No, the condensed version to that is, we don't have a consultant to do any investments. We do it with any local banks, because we're not, I mean, we have our limitations on what we can do with our investments, specifically with the auditors. They tell us that we can, have, only so much freedom. We don't want to do any kind of high-risk investments and so forth. So we're really looking at local banks and the state stiff and so forth. I will say that.
Bitcoin? No Bitcoin, huh?
No. I will at least say that we are fortunate to have a staff member that has experience from the banking field that has now filled my previous position, who is actually enjoying watching, and finding who's got the rates and taking this very aggressive approach to it. So I think coming from, having that strong treasury background, I'm seeing, some interesting ideas, where he's
Yeah.
like, look at this and I like this. So I think we may see, if there's any effort or any possibility of getting a good rate, I think we're in a good direction with
Okay.
that. But, our flexibility, like I said, no Bitcoin for us.
Yeah, I mean, is it just sitting like in a savings account, or are we doing some sort of like CDs or money market, or at least at a minimum
It's
that's?
money markets, not CDs.
Yeah, okay.
Which is better now, actually, because it gives us flexibility as rates are going up.
Well,
so.
you can ladder stuff, and, I mean, there's things you
True.
can do
Yeah.
as the rates
Yeah.
go up, but,
But we do have some
So we're
flexibility,
really-
so
yeah.
interest income, I mean, looking at the projections right in front of us, though, the interest income should be up quite a bit this coming
Yeah,
year.
it's looking better. It really is. It actually, I haven't seen it that good in quite some time, so it is looking better. And like I said, and to have somebody, now, being my additional support, that can spend the time, and watch it. We're doing a great job of keeping, really not a lot of money, on hand, where we can monitor and say, all right, what do you have for invoices, what's the Board of Ed's payroll, and keeping it really stripped down and doing something aggressive, and it feels good to see that happening. I'm feeling good about it.
okay, great. Okay. Let's see, with that, so that was the financial report. I guess item 9, anything under other?
I do not.
Move to adjourn.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, everybody.